Welcome back to the Auto Obsessive Garage. Chadwick with you again for another installment of Project Show Me the Sleeper. This is probably the conclusion to that series. All we've got left to do is to button up everything after all the work we did under the hood, start the car up for the first time. Hopefully our whole timing belt water pump job, everything went well. And then we're going to go ahead and take care of all the fluids. So we're going to do the oil change, we're going to change transmission fluid, and we're going to get that old nasty power steering fluid replaced. After that, I'll throw together a little project overview video comparing how the car is now to how we got it, and to illustrate all the work that went into making this 1989 Ford Taurus SHO the car it is today. So stay tuned for that. We have to get in the garage and get back to work. Let's do it. You're going to want to connect all your throttle body, electronics. We've also got the throttle cable and cruise control cable. So go ahead and start just remembering to put everything together. Okay, time to install our throttle cable area. You guys remember how this goes? I like to go ahead and do the cables first before you put the bracket on. Then you have a clip for the cruise control. If you don't remember that part, here's the clip. Cruise control is locked in, throttle's locked in. Now let's go ahead and connect the bracket. And once you get that assembly finger tightened, it's not a horrible idea to test the range of motion, so crack the throttle. Make sure everything moves smooth. See the throttle plate opening? Good times. As we're finishing up, tightening all our vacuum hoses and everything else, remember on the back of the engine it gets a little crazy back here, so you have to connect this little canister item right here with this clip. And down here is where that's where we have that two-part screw with the nut that goes in, and do not forget your ground strap. So it's a major engine grounding strap. Go ahead and make sure that's in there, and don't forget that when you tighten everything back up. Let's go ahead and install those 12 10mm bolts that we took out to hold this intake manifold down. Now after all 12 of those 10mm bolts are put in, time to hit our 12mm bolts that are holding the intake manifold to the engine itself. Time to throw our air intake back in here, connect it to the throttle body since we're done on this side of the engine. Again, as a final step, we did take a lot of things apart. We disconnected a lot of electrical connectors and a lot of vacuum lines and coolant lines. So go over your work. There's no shame in finding something now and fixing it before you try to start the car. So take your time, go over every area of the engine that we've touched, and even some that you don't remember touching, and just make sure everything's reconnected. All right, time to put our crossover tube and DIS back on. Before you put that on, make sure these DIS wires actually go in these little grooves here. That keeps them from getting pinched under the crossover tube. Time for that moment of truth, especially when you've done a big job and you've had everything apart. We're going to start the car for the first time. We're also going to let it run long enough to get it up to temp and burp the cooling system since we did do the water pump. Let's hope it starts up. For the SHO oil change, I'm going to be using Royal Purple 5W30. We're going to put 6 quarts of this into that wonderful Yamaha engine, and it should make that engine pretty happy. So let's go ahead and take care of this, and we'll swap out that oil filter also. So we'll be swapping out this premium guard filter that was on the car. Even though the oil looks fresh, looks like it was a recent oil change, but who knows what the quality of the oil was. We're going to replace it with the real deal. We'll get a Motorcraft filter in there. Now to do the transmission fluid on the SHO. You're going to be crawling underneath the driver's side of the vehicle, there is actually a drain bolt on the transmission. There you go. It's actually, what a hard angle, but you see it there with the yellow paint? It's a 3/8 inch driver to loosen it. I'm gonna try a 1/2 inch driver with a reduction to 3/8 inch, try to get in there. And there you have the transmission fill hole as marked with that yellow paint. Now there is no drain hole technically, so you can open that to check the fluid level. So to get that fluid out, folks have cut their own or tapped their own drain hole. I'm actually not gonna do that. I'm gonna use a siphon pump and get that fluid out of there. So I'll try to remove as much as possible. I think it has a 3-quart capacity, and then we'll use kind of a funnel, probably from up above, and fill it up till it overflows. But that's how you do it. Let's get this thing going. All right, we've got our funnel rigged up to go right into the transmission fill hole, and we're gonna be pouring in some of this automatic transmission fluid. I heard that's what the SHO likes, so that's what it's gonna get. I'm gonna try to get 3 quarts in there. On my inspection of the vehicle, when I first got it, I did notice the power steering looked a bit rough. You can't really tell, but it is completely brown. I'm 100% sure this fluid has never been changed. So what we're gonna do is take care of that today. And we're gonna use the pretty easy flush method, which just requires a turkey baster or similar item. I like to use this battery. It's like a battery water transfer. I think that's what it's intended for, but it works great for this kind of stuff. So we'll use that, have like a Tupperware container that you can put the old power steering fluid in. Also have a good amount of paper towels ready because you will be making a mess around this area. You're gonna drip a little bit. And the real secret here is to get the car off the ground. So we come around here, got the car jacked up in the front here, and that'll allow us to steer the wheels freely. So we can just put the key to the run position, turn the wheels back and forth, and that allows you to flush all this fluid out, or as close as you can get, without actually having to disconnect a line. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's go ahead and get some new fluid in the SHO. Now when I say the power steering fluid looked bad, it's unbelievable. Watch when I get a flashlight on it. It's completely opaque, brown. Look at that. This is supposed to be clear. Usually it's got a little color tint to it, so we need to do a really good flush here. Look at that. That's incredible. We're now going to begin the process of pouring new fluid in, topping it off, turning the wheels lock to lock, and then siphoning out the fluid until we think it looks clear enough in there. That is not a very quick process. Let me show you what we're looking at down in here now. Oh yeah, look how clear that is. What looks like little dirt chunks, that's just some of the older fluid that's stuck to the sides, but if you look in there you can see all the way to the bottom now. Boy, I had to flush this thing out 4 times to get there though, so time to clean up the area, and power steering fluid is good to go. Project SHO Me the Sleeper is complete. Thank you so much guys for following along. I appreciate all the views, of course, all my new subscribers. I'm glad you guys are liking the content I'm putting out. I'm going to continue getting cool cars in the Auto Obsessive Garage, so stay tuned for that. But again guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully these in-depth videos, especially these rescues and restorations, are really helping other folks out there with these cars how to go through some of these maintenance items and what to be looking for. If I can help anyone else out, that's the biggest reward, honestly. So let's go ahead and do a recap of this project, compare where we are now to where we came from. Again guys, thanks so much, and we'll catch you next time in the Auto Obsessive Garage. Enjoy this recap.